Hey, everybody. Welcome to VaynerX Presents, Marketing for the Now. Gary, how are you doing?
I'm quite well. Andrea, how are you?
I am good. I'm always excited for these episodes, but I think this one is going to be a particularly juicy one. Next, we welcome Mayur Gupta, Chief Marketing and Strategy Officer of Gannett, USA Today Network. Mayur leads a team of marketers, growth hackers, and data scientists to drive the company's transformation from a news and media platform to a digital content subscription marketplace. Previously, Mayur has held top roles at Freshly, Spotify, Kimberly-Clark, and Sapient Nitro, and is a serial investor in a long list of startups. If he wasn't leading the transformation at Gannett, he would be playing cricket for India or tennis for the USA. Welcome, Mayur.
Mayur, how are you, man?
I'm great, Gary. Big fan. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so mad. I wanted to say it first. I really admire you. We haven't had a chance to jam, but I'm hoping this is a starting point. So this feels extra for me, because I do think I really respect from afar your points of view, by your actions, investments, and things that you've done. I'm dying to know what actually, even like both, give me both. You at Gannett, which is such a classic company. I think that's cool. You know, I've long said I want to buy nostalgic brands and reboot them. To me, the transformation of something is more interesting than starting something from fresh. Actually, let's stay there because I wonder if that's, I just saw your reaction. So I wonder if that kind of like was attractive to you as well, sir.
Well, it was scary and attractive, to be very, very candid. I sat on the board of Gannett for almost 2 years. That gave me the insight into the value system and the belief system of the company, and also where the bodies were buried. So it wasn't ambiguous to me. But like you said, I spent a big part of my career in very growth stage startups, have seen them scale up, and I've been very grateful and fortunate. This is an opportunity, Gary, to work at an organization which has a 100-year-old legacy and a purpose and mission that could not be stronger and could not be needed at a more appropriate time than right now, where local communities need information and news that you can trust. But many organizations haven't evolved as fast as the world had changed. So I felt that the real challenge for me personally, which is what made me jump over, was, can I bring everything that I have learned through the failures and the mistakes I've made to bring that rigor, the disruption, the self-disruption, the pace, removing the fear of failure in a huge organization with almost 20,000 people, because that's magical with high risk. But if you pull it off in our transformation from a legacy media business that is obsessed with traffic and audience to a content subscription business that is obsessed with customer value, that will be a fantastic experience and a lot to learn.
When did innovation hit your radar? How young, and what was it that hooked you into technology innovation? Not technology like it was the first. I think people, I want to make sure I land this question. It's not like you grew up with this, oh, you liked video games right away. I'll give you an example. When I saw Nintendo, after playing Atari, the jump was so big that I couldn't wrap my head around it. I'm like, oh, like things can happen like this in my life, because I was 10 or 11 at the time. I'm like, things will happen like this. And then obviously the internet was the next big one I just couldn't even comprehend. For you, when was the first time that innovation hooked you?
So, well, first of all, I grew up in India, and when I was growing up, unless you were really smart, so I didn't fall into that category. If you wanted a job, you did computer science. So I became an engineer, did computer science, got my job. So I break my career apart in 2 phases, Gary. Phase 1, where I was a hammer. I was writing code. I was an architect, then got into product development in the mid 2000s. But I was still a hammer, a good hammer, and I was looking for nails all around. The pivot for me where innovation, even the word made sense, was in the second half of my career when I finally left my alma mater almost, which was Sapient Nitro, where I learned everything, and my foundation is still there. But when I joined Kimberly-Clark, it was the first time after 12 years, I kind of left the gym to get into a tournament. That is when I finally understood that, look, the solve was not technology. The solve was the application of technology and data to change a human behavior that prevented your growth.
How many people do you think missed that point?
9.9 out of 10.
It's funny because you just summed up why I think things have worked for me. I've understood the human part and stayed dangerous enough to understand the tech part.
Yes.
But that was the commodity while all my tech friends thought that, and I was like, that was humans.
And I feel that there are so many shiny disco balls that we all have, whether it is data or even insight, let alone technology. The focus for the world today, even for our children, I know you have kids and I have 2 daughters, it's all about not as much knowing everything, but it is how do you apply when you know it? Because knowledge is commodity, application is where creativity and data and science and design kinds of comes together.
100%. So what is the challenge in front of you? What is the real first tangible, practical thing that you're like, I need to address this?
Yes. See, for us, of course, there is a list of a lot of exciting tech channels, content, all that stuff. But I think what is most fundamental for me and the organization is that underlying mindset evolution and shift to create a belief system that thinks that the only way for us to win is when you run faster than the competition. Everything else is commodity.
Stay right there.
Yeah.
Coming from you, I know my audience, I know how I communicate. I love this. You just articulated the value of speed. I really need you to say that again, because I know I have a mix of youth entrepreneur, I'm going to do it for me, or I want to leave my job or get a new job, or a lot of senior marketers. The fact that you said basically what I've been living my whole life, which is the speed is binarily the variable, because you'll get to the answer of no quicker while people debate if they can find yes. Mayur.
Yes. And that's single-handedly. And I learned that at Spotify. I learned that from the founder of Spotify, Daniel, who firmly believed that even though at that scale of Spotify, which was already humming, but we still knew we weren't fast enough. And correct. I know that.
As a matter of fact, he knew you. When did you come into Spotify? How many years in?
In 2016. So that was the 9th year at Spotify Genesis.
The reason Daniel, and I know Daniel a little bit, the reason he felt that is, I mean, people come into VaynerMedia right now, they're like, this is so fast. And I'm like, we're slow as shit. Daniel knows that at year 9, you guys were much, much slower than what he felt in the first 4 years.
Because most people are trying to protect what they have,
defense.
Not trying to think about what they don't. Because I feel, and this is our startup journey, what I have, one of my biggest lessons learned has been the biggest barrier for companies to move forward is their past success. Because the levers that have got you this far may not, and most often will not be the levers that will get you forward.
100, literally. I mean, Jesus. Now, sometimes when, usually this happens in person. It's happening right here. You have those meetings where you finally meet somebody that from afar, you're like, there's a lot, right? I'm like, I'm just enjoying myself. I literally tell everybody the single thing that is about to put you out of business is the thing that got you to
that got you where you are.
100%.
Yeah.
What can people do? Like, help everybody here in the last minute and a half. As a person that works somewhere, as an entrepreneur, as a key executive, since we're so aligned, I just want to hear your version on, okay, let's say they just believe us because they can see the conviction in our eyes.
Yeah.
What do you do?
It is contribute in creating an environment that is safe to begin with, right? Where people feel that I'm not going to be judged, where you remove the fear of failure. And it's taken me many years and a lot of mistakes. The only way you do that is not by telling them, hey, you can fail and it doesn't matter. It's by showing that you yourself are failing.
And being huge on accountability.
Absolutely.
When you're accountable to your losses, not just when you're accountable.
Yes.
It inspires incredible safety.
Absolutely. And that single-handedly, Gary, is what I feel creates ultimately that environment where 100%. People thrive. And you got to create a culture with trust and transparency where people learn.
How do you do that if the ultimate boss isn't that human?
Well, then you got to be art and science. Create proofs. Prove it. Take baby steps, right? The challenge is people think on day one, how do I solve scale problem? The only way you solve scale is when you don't solve for scale.
Correct. You can't boil the ocean.
Yes, you can boil. And that's the thing. You got to put points on the board, incremental steps.
I'm so pissed you have to go and I have to go. Andrew will beat me up, so I apologize. But Mayur, we've got to continue this.
Thank
Love
you.
you, man. This was fantastic.